So welcome to the information session for the Boise Airport Final Mural Public Art Project. Today I'm going to explain the opportunity, but before I get too far into that, I just have a few housekeeping items that we explain before every info session. First, this session is being recorded. It will be available online afterwards. It may take a few days to process that. English language transcriptions are available by clicking live transcript button at the bottom of the screen, and then I think you select show subtitle, and subtitles can also be viewed in the recording. I would also like to acknowledge, like we do for every info session, the history of the land that Boise City Hall sits on is the ancestral, cultural, traditional, and unceded territory of the Shoshone, Bannock, and Northern Paiute people whose land we're on today. Now, my name is Savannah Shayen. I'm the Public Art Project Coordinator for the Boise Airport, hence why I'm running this project. If you have any questions, please submit them through the Q&A feature. Whenever they come to you, you don't have to wait to the end. I will also provide my contact information at the end. You can always reach me by phone or email. Now, on the agenda today, overview of the project, the selection panel and process, the application, the criteria, a couple of quick suggestions, and then whatever questions you guys might have. So, about the project, this is some information you guys may have seen in the call for art. This is the first public art project at the Boise Airport since I was hired almost a year ago, so it's very exciting and very scary. But this is a really great opportunity, so I'm excited to see you all in the Zoom call. You'll have seen that it includes two designs. One is featured on the east facade of a new building called the CONRAC. That stands for Consolidated Rental Car Facility. You'll see that's why we call it CONRAC, just rolls off the tongue a little bit easier. The second design is 4 panels and a nearby walkway. This walkway will connect the CONRAC building to the actual airport, which is why we've decided to loop this into just one opportunity for one artist. The total award is $30,000 and is limited to current Idaho residents and applicants who are 18 years or older. If you are applying as an artist team, that's totally great. We welcome that, but only submit one application per artist team. Now, the prompt is, while acknowledging the past years of history, what could the future of air transportation in Boise look like, and how would you represent that in your artwork? Here is a tentative timeline. All these dates are pretty subject to change based on construction, based on artist availability. We want to work with you guys. These are pretty loose right now, but the one deadline to keep in mind is the application will close 1 p.m. on April 29th. So you still have plenty of time, but that is the date that won't be changing. Now, some project goals. I said this earlier, but you can't really say it enough. This is the prompt we're working with, acknowledging the past years of history. What could the future of air transportation look like in Boise? How would you represent that? Now, we chose 2 other important goals just to keep in mind. These came from a survey that we released a few months ago focused on public art in the Boise Airport. 2 items kept being mentioned over and over again by residents in this survey. One is that they want to see a representation of Boise's history. Next year, 2026, we have 2 really big events coming up. One is the 100-year anniversary of the Boise Airport, and then the other is the 250-year anniversary of the United States. Another theme that residents have said they want to see represented that we think is very relevant for this project is natural color palettes being pulled from Idaho's differing landscapes. That could be whatever you want it to be. I just threw up some examples like the foothills, the rivers, the mountains. It is just something that we think would look really nice on a gigantic building by the airport. Now, selection panel and process. This is where we're going to talk a little bit about your application audience. A huge part of what makes public art what it is the public process. So artists aren't selected by me, even though I would love to be the one to just say, I like that and I want that artist. It's not how it works. The selection panel is made up of community members and project stakeholders. So in this project, we have a local artist, a representative from the company McIlvain. They're the construction company building the CONRAC. We have a representative from Hertz, which is one of the rental car companies that will be in the CONRAC building. We have an arts and history commissioner and an airport commissioner. Panelists will score applications based on the same set of criteria with preset descriptors that are tied to point values. We'll give them a rubric and they'll use that. After they score applications, they'll meet to discuss the top applications and come to a consensus on finalists. We will be selecting up to 3 finalists to submit concept proposals, and finalists will be paid a $500 stipend for those proposals. From the 3 finalists, panelists will choose the selected artist for the CONRAC mural. So again, even though I'm there to help lead the discussion, make sure everyone stays on topic. I'm not scoring and I'm not determining the selected artist. Now into the application, we use submittable. So I'm actually going to click out of my presentation real quick and pull up submittable because sometimes that helps. This is what the application should look like. You have some basic eligibility questions like your age, your name, your address, your contact information. And then we get into the meat of the project. This is where it gets interesting and a chance for you guys to really brag about yourselves and tell us why you're good for this project. That starts with your statement of interest. So describe your interest in this project. Consider it an argument or a pitch for why you can achieve the goals laid out in this specific project. Brag about yourselves. Tell us why you're good for this project. Then interest and ability to collaborate. Describe your experience collaborating on a past project. That could be a past public art project. It could be a project at work. It could be a project at school, whatever. Just explain how you collaborate on projects and include a challenge you faced and how you overcame it. The reason this is really important, and I'll go into this in the criteria as well, is because there are so many people involved in this project. There's arts and history, the airport, construction companies, fabricators, and then you as the artists. We really want to know how you will come to the table and work with us. Then, like every application, please include an artist resume, website, social media, anything relevant to who you are as an artist. And then also 3 previous work examples. It will help you if these are works that could be scaled up to a large scale mural, but you're not disqualified if you haven't worked on a large scale before. Please still apply. We want to see tons of applications from people of different backgrounds. So if you've worked on large scale before, great. If you haven't worked on large scale works before, also great. Then at the end, of course, always optional, we have some identification information. Back to my presentation. Okay, here's some criteria that it might help you when you're building your application. The selection panel will select up to 3 finalists based on these 5 points of criteria that are on the slide. The first one is you probably see on every application, Idaho artists and eligibility and detailed completeness of application materials. This is just pass fail because we don't give our selection panel incomplete applications. Now, statement of interest, describe your interest in the project, consider it a pitch, an argument, sell us on why you can achieve the goals in this specific project. So to receive maximum points, you would submit a statement of interest that is really clear, concise, and well explains how you will meet the goals that we've outlined. Interest and ability to collaborate. Again, describe your experience collaborating on a project. It can be a past art project. It doesn't have to be, but we just want to know what your collaboration style is like, and how you handle a challenge when you're in this situation, how you overcome that challenge. And that's how you'll receive max points, is if you're very clear about some problem you may have faced and what steps you took to mitigate that problem. Then evidence of ability to follow through. Max points would be showing that you are able to follow through. That can be demonstrated in submitting your past work examples, other application materials, submitting your resume, having a portfolio. Just a well-done application will show the selection panel that you are going to follow through on your promises. Then finally, the fifth point of criteria, ability of past artwork to be scaled up to large scale. Again, you are not disqualified if you haven't worked on a large scale before. This is open to all artists, but you will receive maximum points if you have works that are already on a large scale or could easily be scaled up to something large, because the CONRAC building is about 7 stories tall. So it's a huge, huge mural. So if you have experience working on a large scale, that'll just get you a few extra points. Couple of suggestions. Again, if you have any questions, I'm rolling through this kind of quick because I want there to be plenty of time for question and answers. If you have them, go ahead and submit them if you have them. And if you don't, great. Couple of suggestions though. Review your information carefully. Just reread everything twice, 3 times. Answer all the questions. Make sure that your application is complete. Double check that you've uploaded all your documents, that you've uploaded the right documents, and be clear and concise. You know, don't forget that your panel, the selection panel, are strangers. So just make sure that you're explaining yourself, clear sentences, things like that. You can also use your previous work examples to reflect your ability to collaborate or reflect your ability to work in a large scale, and then make that connection for the panelists in your statement of interest and interest and ability to collaborate. So connecting these things can just show the panelist really how you have these abilities that will meet the selection criteria, that you're meeting the project goals. Don't forget that application pools tend to be pretty competitive. So think about how you can stand out, that what can you do that is unique, meaningful, or inspire curiosity. If you have any questions, this is my email and my phone number. You'll see I'm actually not in the office, I'm in my house because the arts and history office is being remodeled. So I have actually provided my cell phone number because I do not have access to my work phone. So I still won't respond outside of work hours, but please call or email with any questions that you have. I want this to be an accessible project so that people aren't waiting on pins and needles for me to respond for a week. That date is kind of arbitrary. I will answer your questions if you send them after the 22nd. But if you can get them in by then, great. That gives you time to finish your application based on an answer. So if there are any questions, please go ahead and send them in. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So Chase, if you want to let me know what your question is.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, sound great.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to type my question, but it's not working. Yeah, so I just wanted to confirm that we are kind of applying with kind of what we've done, and then the selected few will propose something, and then they'll work on something particularly for, like, draw something up.
Yep, that is exactly it. This is sort of a hybrid request for qualifications and then request for proposal afterwards. We're just trying to make sure that we're not asking you guys as artists to submit work that you're not being paid for. So that's why there's no visual concept element to this application. So you've totally got it. This is the selection panel selecting based on your abilities, and then they will select up to 3 finalists who will submit an actual visual proposal.
Great, love that. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. If one person asked if the application doesn't ask for a concept proposal, should we include one in the work samples? You can if you want to, but really we're trying to not ask you to create something brand new and spend time doing it that you're not being paid for. So I won't stop you from including a concept proposal, but I would suggest that you just apply based on your current work or past work instead of creating a concept proposal. If you are applying as a team, you absolutely can both show up in the video for your statements, 100%. So to McKenna's question, at what point in the process do you submit your artwork ideas for the mural designs? That will be in that second half of this hybrid process. So The first half that you're applying for now is just the request for qualifications. You're not going to submit any artwork ideas, any concept proposals. If you are selected as a finalist, we will then pay finalists for an actual proposal for the mural designs. One person asked, I've had time pulled me away from art significantly. Is it detrimental not to have a new piece to show? Absolutely not. It does not have to be in any sort of recent time frame. You can submit work from years ago if you would like. That is totally fine. Eric, to your question, there is no template file for the dimensions of final deliverables right now. We will be providing exact dimensions to the 3 selected finalists. Michelle, great question. How do you apply as a team when there's only one cell for name and resume? Submittable is great sometimes, but it isn't perfect. So it might seem a little clunky, but my best advice there is to say when you're filling out your name, put Michelle, comma, Brett. Or, you know, if it was me, I would say Savannah, comma, Hannah, if she was my partner in this project. And then for your last names, I would say Smith, comma, Bliss, if we were working together. So you could do the same for when you're putting in your phone numbers and email address as well, or you could just select one phone number or one email address. I realize that doesn't seem the most user-friendly, but unfortunately there's no sort of second cell to put in a second name. Megan, great question. Can you provide examples of easily scalable art mediums to submit as past examples of works? So I think some art mediums that tend to be easily scalable is anything that is 2D. That could be a painting, that could be a mural, that could be a pen and ink, that could be something drawn, it could be a photograph. In my mind, as just a coordinator, not an active artist, those are mediums that tend to be easier to scale up. But if you're an artist who works in 3D or in new media, we absolutely still welcome applications like that. So submit your past artworks, even if they're not easily scalable.
But I was just curious if the city of Boise had any idea how many applicants they're anticipating, or if they will disclose the number of applicants that apply to this, or is that kept confidential?
That's a great question. We don't generally see, so the types of applications where we receive the highest number of applicants is our traffic box opportunity. That is well into the hundreds. The numbers aren't a secret, so I can tell you that for just this past year's traffic box opportunity, we had like 140. For projects of this size, I wouldn't anticipate that we're going to get 140 applications. Right now, a few people have applied. Most people wait until after an info session like this. I personally have been estimating that maybe we're going to get a few dozen applications, but I don't know for sure. Sometimes we get just 10, sometimes we get 50, sometimes we get 100. So I'm totally happy to disclose that. Again, it's not a secret. It's not information that we put on our website, but there's no secret there. So I would expect on my end that maybe we're going to get a few dozen applications.
Okay, and then are you allowed to disclose, just out of curiosity, how many people are on the phone call right now?
Sure. Yeah, there are 23 of you guys on this call right now.
Excellent. Okay, I just wanted to gauge interest just for fun. Thank you.
Sure. So I don't see any new questions in the chat. Does anybody have any questions that I haven't answered? Even if it seems silly, you can, again, you can also email me, you can call me with questions. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out. Thank you for dealing with my technical difficulties with Zoom. I'm looking forward to seeing all of your applications. Again, ask me if you have any questions. If not, I'm excited to review all of your guys' applications and see what you all bring. Thanks for coming.